All right, let's get right into today's explainer. We're looking at a truly fascinating breakdown of why our lives turn out the way they do, and it's all grounded in Dr. Joseph Murphy's landmark work. You know that feeling when there's just this invisible barrier between where you currently are and where you desperately want to be? Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. Maybe you're grinding day in and day out, but you keep hitting this invisible financial ceiling. Or, maybe you're doing everything right for your physical health, but chronic stress just keeps dragging you back down. It literally feels like you're swimming against a rip current. Well, today, we're going to map out exactly how to break through that barrier. We are unpacking the actual mechanics of human potential using some incredibly clear, actionable frameworks. So, get comfortable, lock in, and let's unlock this inner treasure together.
The source text kicks things off with a pretty massive, punch-you-in-the-gut kind of question. Why is one person a brilliant success while another is a miserable failure? It really forces us to stop and examine the stark contrast between human destinies. I mean, we see this every single day, right? Two people can come from the exact same background, have the exact same education, yet one of them lives in total abundance. They're joyful, they navigate life's hurdles almost effortlessly, and then the other person barely scrapes by, just constantly battling misfortune and pure exhaustion. Or think about health. One person faces a dire diagnosis and somehow miraculously recovers, while another with the exact same condition doesn't make it. These aren't just abstract, late-night philosophical thoughts. These are the tangible realities of human destiny. The author is basically challenging us to stop looking outward at luck or circumstances and start looking entirely inward.
To really visualize the difference between the people who succeed and the people who struggle, there's this brilliant metaphor using a simple piece of iron. Imagine a deeply magnetized piece of iron. Because of its internal state, it can lift 12 times its own weight. It has this unseen, powerful internal pull. That is the magnetic person. They move through the world and naturally attract success. They've got this unshakable confidence, this deep faith. They just know, down to their core, that they are born to win. Now, take that exact same piece of iron, but completely demagnetize it. Suddenly, it can't even lift a feather. Nothing on the outside of that iron changed. It looks exactly the same, but the internal state is fundamentally different. That's the demagnetized person. They are completely paralyzed by fear and doubt. When a massive opportunity finally shows up, their very first thought is, oh man, what if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if people laugh at me? And because they lack that internal magnetic pull, they just stay exactly where they are, completely anchored down by their own unseen fears.
So, where do we actually find the playbook for this? The answers to these life-altering disparities, the actual secret to becoming that magnetic person, lie within the pages of this incredible foundational text, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And look, this isn't just some passing self-help fad. This is a text that has fundamentally shifted how society views human potential over the last few decades. It moved us away from the old idea that success is just a roll of the dice or the result of relentless, sleep-deprived grinding. What we're unpacking today is the deeply structured logic behind how your internal mechanism actually operates. It's not magic. It's not mysticism. It is a highly systematic process that literally anyone can learn to master.
Before we jump into the exact mechanics of how this all works, we've got to understand the architect behind the ideas, Dr. Joseph Murphy. He wasn't just a theorist sitting in a room throwing out positive affirmations and hoping they'd magically work. He approached human potential with a deeply researched, multidisciplinary lens that was incredibly rare and, honestly, super pioneering for his time.
He had a PhD in psychology, which gave him a remarkably firm grounding in the hard, clinical science of the human mind. But what makes his work so revolutionary is that he didn't stop at Western science. He actually traveled to India and spent years intensely studying Eastern religions and ancient spiritual wisdom. And it was this unique intersection, rigorous Western psychology colliding with deep Eastern spiritualism, that led him to one very powerful conclusion. A supreme, infinite power operates within every single one of us. Over his lifetime, he authored over 30 books just dedicated to teaching people how to access this exact power. He realized the ultimate treasure house isn't out there in the world, waiting for you to stumble upon it. It's already buried deep inside you.
Think about human history for a second. If you ask the average person on the street what the greatest secret of the ages is, what would they say? They'd probably point to splitting the atom, or thermonuclear energy, or the insane achievement of landing on the moon, right? But during a time when humanity was looking incredibly far outward, building rockets to conquer space and inventing crazy tech to master the physical world, Dr. Murphy was arguing something totally different. He said the most explosive, world-changing power was actually just sitting quietly inside our own heads. The greatest secret in history is the untapped, miracle-working power found within your own subconscious mind. Most people never find it simply because they're too distracted looking everywhere else. But limitless wealth, boundless energy, and infinite intelligence, it's all just waiting inside you to be systematically developed.
Okay, so to actually harness this power, we first have to map out the distinct dual roles of our minds, because they operate in completely different ways. You only have one mind, but it has two totally distinct characteristics. Think of it like a massive ship. First up, you have the conscious mind. This is your objective, waking mind. It handles voluntary actions, it's rational, it's logical, and it processes the world through your five senses. Basically, the conscious mind is the captain of the ship. They're standing up on the bridge, looking at the horizon, and giving all the orders. Then, you have the subconscious mind. This is your subjective, sleeping mind. It handles all the involuntary stuff, like keeping your heart beating or digesting your lunch, without you ever having to consciously think about it. It's the crew down in the dark engine room. And here is the absolutely critical difference. The crew in the engine room does not question the captain's orders. The subconscious mind accepts all suggestions blindly. If the captain gives a terrible order, the crew will unquestioningly drive that ship straight into the rocks.
There's another brilliant metaphor in the text to make this dynamic incredibly clear.
Imagine your mind as a garden. Your conscious mind is the gardener. Every single day, through your habitual thoughts, you are planting seeds into this garden. And honestly, we do this constantly without even realizing it. Are you standing in front of the mirror in the morning repeating a negative loop about how tired or unqualified you are? Are you doom scrolling through terrible news right before bed and internalizing all that anxiety? Yep, those are all seeds. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, is the fertile soil. And the soil does not care what you plant. It doesn't judge. It just takes whatever seed you hand it and fiercely begins to grow it.
And that gives us a really concrete 3-step manifestation process. And spoiler alert, this is happening inside you right now, every second of every day. Step 1. Your conscious mind chooses a habitual thought. That's the seed. Say you're prepping for a massive job interview. If your habitual thought is, I'm not qualified, they're going to see right through me, well, that's the seed you've actively selected. Step 2. That thought gets deposited into the subconscious, which is the soil. Step 3. The subconscious gets to work and produces the reality without arguing. That's the harvest. Because you planted intense seeds of self-doubt, your subconscious will bring forth a harvest of pure anxiety during the interview. You'll stutter, you'll sweat, your mind will go blank. Psychologically speaking, you are quite literally reaping exactly what you sowed.
Which brings us to a frankly terrifying but also incredibly liberating truth about the human mind. The subconscious mind does not argue with you. It is entirely impartial. It's just a flawless, unthinking execution machine. It doesn't debate if a thought is actually good or bad for you, and it definitely doesn't have a sense of humor. If you jokingly say, "Oh, I always fail at everything I do," your subconscious mind takes that as a direct, serious command from the captain. If you plant thorns, you're not going to gather grapes. If you plant weeds, it's going to grow weeds in absolute abundance. But on the flip side, if you plant wheat, it grows wheat. Your subconscious simply accepts whatever your conscious mind believes as absolute fact, and then it relentlessly works to recreate that reality in your external life.
Now you're probably thinking, okay, but does this actually work in extreme life or death situations? Well, the author shares a pretty profound personal validation of this theory. Dr. Murphy actually reports in the text how he successfully cured himself of a malignant tumor, specifically a sarcoma. And this wasn't just some fleeting, casual thought experiment. It required immense disciplined focus. Using the exact framework we just talked about, he forced his conscious mind to direct his subconscious internal healing powers. Instead of giving in to the overwhelming, paralyzing fear that comes with a cancer diagnosis, he actively overwrote that fear. He constantly visualized the creative intelligence that made his body in the first place, the same intelligence that automatically beats his heart and heals a paper cut, knowing it also knew exactly how to heal this tumor. Through intense mental discipline, he essentially reprogrammed his cells by feeding his subconscious mind with unyielding habitual thoughts of perfect health.
This whole experience perfectly aligns with an old proverb mentioned in the text. The doctor dresses the wound, God heals it. And I love this, because it beautifully balances the concept. It makes sure we aren't crossing over into reckless pseudoscience. The book strongly advocates for using all the tools available to you. Modern medicine, complex surgeries, skilled doctors, they are incredibly valuable. They dress the wound, they set the broken bone, they create the absolute optimal external conditions for you to recover. But we have to recognize that the true active restorative power, that biological intelligence that actually knits your skin back together, fuses the bone, and fights off the illness at a cellular level, that is entirely internal. It's the life principle, the subconscious intelligence within you, doing the actual miraculous work of healing.
So you are the captain of the ship. You are the gardener of your mind. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a vital thought to really reflect on. If your reality, your level of success, your physical health, your daily happiness is truly just the inevitable harvest of your habitual thoughts, what seeds are you going to choose to plant in your subconscious today? Are you going to continue to unconsciously scatter seeds of fear, limitation, and anxiety? Or are you going to intentionally take the wheel and plant seeds of abundance, confidence, and healing? The garden is yours to tend. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this incredibly powerful material. I highly encourage you to start paying very, very close attention to the seeds you're